Good morning. It's Tuesday, the 9th of January of 2024. This is the, you have a two-shot. This is the 11th episode of Hey, What's Going On Around Here from CNL2. Got that two-shot coming? With me is Heather. There we go. Heather Spaulding.
Good morning.
Heather, you've been on every one of these. This is yours.
The 11th one.
Yeah,
Holy
this
cow.
is great. We were expecting a guest this morning who couldn't make it. It might have been weather related. It's a crazy day. It's a crazy week for weather. We'll be actually talking about that a little bit later. But first, I want to explain that we are broadcasting from a new location in this 11th episode. We were broadcasting, our little studio, very little tiny studio, was in I think it's called the Technology Center that we're in.
Yes.
Your offices are the paper's offices are called the West Wing. Mm-hmm. Whose idea was that?
I don't know. That happened long before
Was that supposed to be like a reference to the White House?
I believe so. And I love it. I love it that it's called.
Yeah.
It cracks me up.
Yeah, it's great. Well, and so we were in the middle of the building, and we kind of outgrew that space. So we moved here, and this is coming to you from 15 2nd Street South, I think it's supposed to be called. Where's North? I don't know where is 2nd Street North, but apparently there's a 2nd Street South. So this is the former home for 30 years of Second Act. That's how everybody knows this. We're under the Masonic Lodge, and we're next to Studio Jam, the Craig and Kathy Nett's business. And so we have 1,600 square feet, up from, I think, about 400 square feet.
That's awesome.
And Jeremy Tyler has done a tremendous job. There's no camera on Jeremy today, but tremendous job getting all this set up. We started moving Saturday, and it's taken every bit of 3 days to get this set up. Long way to go. Long way to go to build this out. But we're now ready for bigger capacity things. There's even at least one show that might involve producing on the other side of this wall in Studio Jam. So that would give us potentially, if you put the two together, I guess about 3,000 square feet. So we're ready to grow, ready to get going.
Woo-hoo.
So, and we will be having some sort of open house when things are a little more ironed out. We'll be inviting people to come by sometime late winter or spring, hopefully on a real nice weekend. Mm-hmm. And we will invite people to come in and look and talk to us. In the meantime, I can be reached by email, particularly would be my favorite form of hearing from you. But you would be welcome to email me with any thoughts, any suggestions, get rid of that old guy on, hey, what's going on around here? Turn that over
or
to...
get rid of Heather. You never know.
Or get rid of Heather. She's awful. But please email me with... we're at a point now where we have the capacity to do shows. I hope to have someone with Island Rides here in late January or February. Incredible work. I hope to drag Tom Bridge and maybe Ed Andrews from Community Water Taxi over here at some point. And we do have the ability to do split screen and have people in completely other locations. We had a very successful interview in the Very Important show of Senator Ron Mazzal, and he was right there in his home in Oak Harbor. It was great. It was very effective. So please email me if you have any ideas or suggestions or... Well, I'm not ready for criticism yet. Give us another couple months before the criticism starts, please. It's not.
Suggestions might be good.
Suggestions are okay. Criticism, I'm not ready for. So we took 2 weeks off. Did you have a nice holiday?
I did. Yeah, it was nothing exciting, which is a good thing.
Did Santa bring you anything good?
Lots of good things, I'm sure, but mostly just the ability to relax and hang out with my family.
Food.
That was nice.
Lots of
Yes.
food.
Chocolate.
There you go. There you go. So let's talk about the weather today. Tuesday the 9th is kind of a rough night. I don't know if how high the wind gusts got. The forecast was up to 60. I don't know that it got that, but I think around 3 a.m. I heard
Some
quite a
good
bit of
gusts.
noise outside.
Yeah.
You have an article this week about the weather.
Yeah, because I had heard that the weather was going to get pretty sketchy this week, but my concern at the time was snow. I didn't realize the wind was going to be so crazy. So all I really did, since I didn't have time to actually talk to Brendan Cowan, the director of our Department of Emergency Management, I just took their information about winter storms off their website, and there is a lot there. Everything from wind to snow to just general thinking about storms and how to be prepared. They have links to the East Sound Water Association about how to keep your pipes from freezing, and as well as Opalco about power outages, which are the two critical things. So who knows how windy it's really going to get in the next day or two, but there's going to be some wind. So they're advising to be wary of trees, keep an eye on Opalco for power outages. Hopefully none of that will happen and we won't have to worry about power outages. Keep flashlights on hand, make sure your phones are charged up, all that good stuff. And if power is your only source of heat, it is actually mine, then that's an issue as well. Make sure you've got your blankets and all of that, or someplace you can go.
Do you have a fireplace?
I don't. Well, I'm house sitting, so they have a fireplace.
Okay.
But in my normal place, I don't even have a fireplace. So fortunately, my parents don't live very far away, and they have heat.
Well, if you have friends, that have fireplaces or gas or generators, this would be the time to make up with your friends and maybe take them a cake or something.
Something.
Try to open up that option for yourself, because I remember last Christmas, it was a pretty long stretch without electricity. Wasn't it a couple days?
We kept having, we'd have power and then it would go off and we'd think we were good. And then the power would go out again. It was kind of that weird scenario.
Yeah. So,
Opalco has actually been very good. Back in the day, you could go a couple days maybe without power, and it happened frequently. So they've really stepped up their game and
there's a lot of tree trimming this summer.
A lot of tree trimming this summer.
Really good. It's
Yeah.
encouraging. So looks like Thursday through Saturday are the really intense times, and Friday is the lowest in the forecast, 15 degrees with a high of 20.
Yeah.
A high of 20. So last time I checked, Ace Hardware had a nice supply of suet. Our little feathered friends really appreciate that. Helps them get through.
And if you feed hummingbirds, make sure that you bring those feeders in at night so they don't freeze. Keep an eye on that.
We have a little hummingbird heater that goes underneath that keeps it from freezing.
Perfect.
And it's red, so they like that. So, yeah.
Perfect.
We'll see if that makes it through the second year, but it worked last year.
Yeah.
And with the weather here, unless you were born here, you chose this. So everybody needs to remember, we chose this.
We chose
Unless
to
you
be
were
here.
born here, and then you're totally used to this. I'm amazed. The other day, it was probably 45 or less. And to see the people who grew up here, they're so much tougher than like me. I mean, they're walking around in T-shirts. No coat.
No
They're
coat.
like, no problem.
Yeah.
They're not trying to make a statement. They just don't care. They don't feel it. I'm like, it's my Elmer Fudd hat on, So, yeah. So anyway, we'll get through. Hopefully the power stays on. We'll see. So I wanted to update our audience a little bit with a couple items that we have been reporting on CNL2. We, of course, are still following the ferry situation very closely. In a conversation which we reported in a little print article on the homepage, a conversation with Senator Liz Lovelett, a Democrat of 40th District, with myself, Tom Bridge, and Tom Starr, who are in the FLOW, Ferry Lovers of Washington group. We learned last week from Senator Lovelett that what I think is probably the most promising thing that could come out of the legislature, which went into session yesterday and will be in session through March 7. So 60 days, right in there, 59 days. We learned that in the proposed budget, which I guess you would say is the Democrat budget, they have provided for, and I haven't seen this language yet, I'm going to ask for it this week, but she says that they have provided for funding for the Coast Guard minimums in terms of employment, the Coast Guard minimums +1. And that's huge. Now there's, the legislative process has been referred to as making sausage.
Yes.
Very ugly. That's the ugliest
Messy,
analogy anybody
ugly.
could think of. Bloody guts, and having worked somewhat in a legislature a long time ago, I can vouch for that. It's probably even worse than that. But I think what we want to do, and I think what CNL is going to do CNL2 is going to do in the next 2 months, is try to watch that really carefully. It's in there. It's apparently the best they can do. At least they think it's the best they can do. Some critics would say that they could do more, but I think we want to watch that really closely, and if there is a draft where that falls out before it's finally passed, I would assume that at least in that section, that portion of a budget, the governor would be happy to sign that. But and just to have those extra positions funded doesn't mean that they'll be instantly filled, but it would mean, I think, from a policy standpoint, it would mean we're pushing away from this Coast Guard minimum thing, which has been disastrous in the past few years. So we'll be watching that. I think we as kind of the group of people have been watching this closely. At least some of us, that's the first we heard of that. Really haven't even seen the contours of that budget yet. I haven't anyway. Mm-hmm. Secondly, we asked Senator Lovelett what would happen, and we don't have tape of this because it was a little bit more of an informal talk, but she knew it was on the record. We asked Senator Lovelett, what will happen if the Climate Commitment Act of 2022 is repealed? I believe in November it'll be on the ballot, or it's expected to be on the ballot in November. And she energetically, strongly, practically, I would use the word blurted out, no boats, no boats. And she thought about it for a minute and said, maybe 1 boat. Now, they would like to have 26 boats. And we learned last week in some disappointing news that they're really dealing with 15 now, 15 of 26. And the obvious thing that's been going on is trying to get more boats to close that gap. Right. So when you hear a legislator, the head of the Ferry Caucus, tell you that if the Climate Commitment Act is repealed, there will be no more boats or 1 boat, that's certainly alarming. I'm sure that there are proponents of the repealing the Climate Commitment Act that might argue with that, but that is the position of one influential Democrat, and happens to be our senator.
Right.
So that is what our senator is telling us, the meaning or the results of repealing the Climate Commitment Act. I'm not taking a position on that at all. Yeah. It's not my place, but it is our place to report what a key senator is telling you the results of that will be. And obviously we will see much more of that kind of discussion throughout the spring and summer and the fall if it indeed is certified to go on the ballot.
So let's go back for a minute, because I want to make clear that people understand. I want to make sure people understand the whys behind this. So the Commitment Act raised taxes to fund different things, right?
It raised money by auctioning these carbon credits. So it's not, I guess it's arguable whether that's a tax or not. I'm sure in some fashion it's a tax. But it's called, in most cases, it's called cap and trade. In Washington liked the phrase cap and invest. But it comes from these auctions, this auctioning the ability to, basically auctioning the ability to pollute, I guess, if you consider carbon footprint polluting. Right. And so it is expected to generate and has been generating enormous amounts of money. I think it's even exceeding expectations, these auctions. And it's basically going to raise about $1 billion just for the state, about $1 billion a year. And then that money will be used for many of these green projects, and they are disproportionately in transportation. So the idea is that I think the senator would say if you take that income away, then...
And that's the...
And when it comes to the boats, by the way, my understanding is that it's not necessarily all of the money is coming to build the boats from there, but especially the propulsion systems, which means the electric propulsion, that is definitely coming out of that. So, I mean, I think anyone on the whole political spectrum would say, no matter where you stand on any of this, you take that out of the money, that you blow an enormous hole in the budget.
Right.
You blow an enormous hole in these plans. Yeah. And it's back to the drawing board. And that's a scary thought.
Yeah. And that's why I kind of wanted to bring that part of it up, talk about like the...
So it's not a tax that the consumer feels. However, the critics of the Climate Commitment Act and the people who are trying to repeal it have keyed in on what they believe is a direct expense. And frankly, I've watched some of the governor's comments, and he's not really arguing this point that, or maybe he is, not that I saw, and I've seen a little bit of this, including an exchange on Cairo radio last week. But the proponents of repealing have really keyed in on the high price of gasoline in this state. And that is a hot subject for debate at this time. But that, I think many critics of the Climate Commitment Act would say, there's your tax. Your tax is it's maybe a virtual or the effect of a tax, but your gasoline prices have gone way up in that period of time. There's even a big debate about whether the governor knew that this was going to happen or not. That's kind of where that is today. So get pretty deep in the weeds on this stuff. But we did hear her say, and I don't know if she's saying this, I assume she's saying this in other venues, but she did tell us very bluntly the position, I guess, of herself and perhaps other Democrats is repeal that Climate Commitment Act, and there is no plan for or no way to build more boats. Right. That's something we all need to think about, question, maybe challenge that thinking, but that is something now that we're starting to hear as the number of signatures secured for that and several other repeal petitions was very high. It appears that they will clear the hurdle and certify and get those on the ballot. In fact, I think the process is it starts with the legislature, and the legislature's like, you want to do anything with this? No. Okay, then it goes to the voters. A couple other things we reported last week, or maybe about 10 days ago, that Deborah Hoskinson, the executive head of our tourism bureau, had shared with the town council of Friday Harbor some alarming stats on the state of tourism, the level of tourism and what she saw in the data as a reversal in the months of August, September, and October. The numbers were quite strong in June, July. It actually looked like it was going to be kind of a turnaround year, maybe even set some records. And it would appear to some people that news started to get around of the disastrous Memorial Day situation where people, it was reported in your paper, people were stranded, about 100 cars here were stranded with absolutely no help whatsoever. That's actually the event, I think, that triggered Laura Jo Severson to start to try to organize a rescue for the next time that happens, a Red Cross-style rescue. Anyway, it would appear maybe that news started to circulate throughout Seattle of that and other, just general problems. But the Tourism Bureau kind of sounded the alarm to the town council. And that entire story, that entire report is on the homepage still of CNL2. So take a look at that. Finally, last week we did a feature on community water taxi that has been very popular, a lot of views, and they are doing some beautiful work. It's basically based out of Orcas, and Tom Bridge is on Crane Island, and it's really remarkable because there is a lot of talk in Olympia and various legislators of a desire to have a public-private partnership to get creative and to look for local solutions. But the only project that just keeps coming up is community water taxi. It has been endorsed, maybe not a strong word, but it has been featured in at least 2 Seattle Times stories, including one powerful editorial board editorial. It was amazing. They're naming Tom Bridge. They're naming community water taxi. So
we will be interviewing him too.
Good. Yeah, it's a very sincere project. Nobody's, I think it's fair to say nobody has made a nickel off this. A $40 is basically reimbursement to a captain. You're not really even paying for their time. You're just paying for wear and tear on the boat and fuel and maybe minimum wage, maybe not even that. So they're doing this out of compassion, and but it needs to graduate. In a video that we made, we said it kind of is similar to a pop-up kind of a business. Literally popped up at the during the crisis, another different crisis on the weekend of the county fair, and now it's time to graduate that into a real business or nonprofit. A couple interesting things going on there. One is that the county is already indirectly supporting that by allowing the travel vouchers for seniors, disabled seniors. Let me get that right. Seniors, disabled people, temporary or permanent disabled, and what's the third group? Remember the third, Jeremy? Remember what the third group is? Seniors, disabled. Anyway, and low income, which I believe is threshold is $25,000 a year in income. So you can get a voucher if you qualify, and there's information on the county website about the travel voucher program, TVP, or transportation. I guess it's transportation voucher program. But they are actually, people are redeeming that now for rides with community water taxi. And there was the day that we were taping, the previous morning, they had transported on one of the mornings. We've had some bad stretches here with the morning inter-island. I think there have been 2 periods in the last 30, 45 days where multiple mornings in a row have been canceled due to crewing. And there was a person, a cancer patient, who had to get over here for their chemo. You don't mess with the chemo schedule.
Right. No.
You don't do that. So community water taxi, I believe a voucher was involved in that. Community water taxi and some pretty rough weather that day. I was in the boat. It, on a day like today, it slaps that water. But they got that patient across and in here in about 15 minutes from Orcas to here. And
Nice.
they made it. They got their chemo. And in those days, typically, you come over here, you do what you got to do, and then, by the time you're done, the inner island is restored. They've crewed it. So mostly lately, I shouldn't say mostly, but many of the trips have been from Orcas or other Shaw or other islands to here to Friday Harbor, and then people use the Washington State Ferry to get home. So beautiful work that they're doing.
It is.
I look forward to your interview of those 5 people. I call them 5 heroes over there.
Nice.
One other thing about that, the group has been talking with the Port of Orcas to kind of help them institutionalize the service. So there are certain things that the port can do. All right. Everything okay over there? Are we okay? All right. A little technical. So we have a lot of gremlins in here right now because this studio is 3 days old. So who knows?
Who knows?
Are we still broadcasting? Are we still
I
streaming?
love it, though. And one of the things I love about this space is the fact that it's right across the street from the courthouse.
I can tell you're jealous. I know you want our space. We do have a closet back there that you can.
I could tuck in.
It could be your bureau. It could be the Second Street Bureau of the Journal of the San Juan Islands. Speaking of the Journal of San Juan Islands, we're so lucky to have you.
Oh, thank you.
We're also lucky to have the papers in Orcas and Lopez. And it's time for me to talk again about how we can't take this for granted. There was a disturbing story out of Oregon a couple weeks ago, in which an employee embezzled a whole lot of money and greatly destabilized the paper. I don't know if it'll survive or not. But it was a chance actually it was a Fortune magazine story, so it was a national story. And they wrote about, again, the tidal, I'm going to read a little bit from the Fortune article. Tidal wave of closures of local news outlets across the country in recent decades has left many Americans without access to vital information about their local governments and communities. So, we have 3 healthy papers, as far as I know, right?
Yeah.
Still healthy.
They're
3
still
healthy sound publishing properties in the San Juans, and we need to keep them strong. Another thing that came up in that same Fortune article is what I consider to be some pretty bad news, some pretty ominous news. We've talked several times in our first 10 episodes about how the alarming, stunning rate of failures of local newspapers at a rate of 2 a week. And every time I see that, I say that stat, I have to read it again and say, a week? Not a month, a week? 2 newspapers a week.
Yeah.
We started, I know, back in the day when I worked for Fleischmann's Yeast and ran a huge PR program for them. There used to be 8,000 papers. 8,000 papers in this country. I don't know what the current number is, but losing 2 a week, we're dropping I guess over 100 a year.
Yeah.
Anyway, I have the sad duty to report that number is actually, that frequency is going up. We are now at losing 2.5 papers a week. So that is another, whatever that is, as a percentage basis.
A lot.
It is so important. It is so important while we have these things, because once you lose your paper, it's very, very difficult to put that back. The access to the printing presses, the dispersing of the talent, it's once you lose your paper, I think many towns would agree. Once you lose your paper, you're probably not going to have a paper again. So one of the things that you have to do in the newspaper business, Jeremy, could you turn the heater off? I'm cooking over here. It feels like I feel like a turkey in an
like,
oven.
Heat! Yay!
We'll get you your own little heater, okay?
Yeah.
We'll put you in a bubble.
Wait, yeah.
Yeah.
A sauna coming right down.
But one of the things that's incumbent on papers today to sell ads is to be creative. And you have a very creative ad.
Yeah,
going.
so this actually is an ad campaign that is simultaneously a community campaign that was started, gosh, I want to say back in like the late 80s, early 90s, if not earlier. And I'm pretty sure it was started by Howard Schoenberger, because he was a very creative guy. And one of the reasons why he was such a successful writer, such a successful marketing person, and it's called the Baby Derby. And what we do is we go around to the different businesses and say, hey, you want to do a gift certificate of some kind, like King's, for example, has already said they want to do $100 toward the baby.
Nice.
And they will buy a $100 ad to tell the community they've given the new family this thing.
And how do you win it? Just by delivering a baby at the right time?
So the family is, yes, it's the first baby born of the year. They're the ones that get these derby prizes. And so far, as far as I know, we don't have one. Last year, it was a Old Island family's kids. That was a very sweet story. Go back and look at
How
January
long did
1st
that
of
take last year?
That was born hours after midnight on New Year's, so that was very quick. It actually caught me by surprise because I had forgotten that we were even doing this. I'm like, oh yeah, it's January, and we have not started on the baby derby, but we pulled it together.
Do we know who the contenders are?
We don't, but I do know that it sounds like the next baby may not be born until February. So, if anyone here is contrary to that, please let me know. If anyone has already had a baby, please let me know.
Yeah, there's some goodies in it for you.
Yeah,
so.
there will be. And it's San Juan Island only. It's not countywide. It's just for San Juan Islanders.
Okay.
Our special treat.
Well, there we go. We're going to find
Yeah.
who is expecting.
Yeah, and we do a whole article about the family too. So
that sounds wonderful.
Yeah,
Looking forward to
very
that.
sweet.
And we're starting something new today. Hopefully, we'll continue this indefinitely. We're going to talk about the pet of the week here. You already cover this very well in the paper, but tell us about our pet of the week today, and Jeremy will put up a picture.
So Tilly is pet of the week. Tilly sounds just like a sweetheart. She is a white shepherd mix from Eastern Washington. They found her, I think, on the side of the road with some of her siblings, something like that. But they did find her with her siblings. She unfortunately had a broken leg, seriously broken leg. So while all her siblings were adopted out, she had to heal. And now she is ready. Her leg is healed, and she is a brave girl, eagerly waiting for her forever home. She has puppy-level energy with a side of chill, and loves bodies of water and adventuring together. So she will make somebody a very good companion, and I hope she finds a good home. Because she had a kind of a rocky start in her little beginning of life. She is only 5 months old, and she's already been through quite a bit. So
This looks like somebody that's going to find a home.
I think so, too. Yeah,
I think that's going to happen.
She's a beautiful girl.
All right. Well, thank you for that, and we hopefully will do this every week. We thought we almost got mixed up, and we almost talked about a cat, but this is the
This is this week. Yeah,
we got
this
this
is
all
the one.
messed up.
Yeah.
And finally, we've invited Town of Friday Harbor Mayor, the Honorable Ray Jackson, who has accepted our invitation to be with us next week. Looking forward
Yes.
to that.
Me too.
And so I think that is a wrap for today. Thank you. This was episode 11 of Hey, What's Going On Around Here? And we have a lot that is going to be coming out of CNL2, a lot of news coming out of CNL2 in the next few months. So stay tuned. I've been told by a few people that now people in town have heard of something, but they
Something
don't
happening.
understand any of it. It's my job to help that be understood. But we have been working very hard at this for about 10 and a half months. And I think that this is going to be a very big and exciting year. Community television and community radio will be here and will grow enormously in this year. So stay tuned.
Yes.
Thank you,
Stay tuned.
and have a great day. We'll see you next week.
See you next week.